Friends, family, fans, welcome back to another episode of Back 9 Bets, baby. Episode 175. From Wilting to Kilting. It looks better when you type it, but we wilted pretty hard down the stretch there on 18 as a Ben Coles backer last week. We had Ian McNeil on the show, and it was a fantastic time. We came right down to the wire there with both of our outrights there in Ben Coles. But we had a top 5, a top 10, and a top 20 on him over there. All at DraftKings, I believe. So that was who sponsors the show. Use code FGD when signing up over there to help you help us. That would be a very nice gesture. As always, we are also part of the Model Maniac Patreon over here. Everything you'll be seeing is what you see on the screen going forward. You can get that in my Model Maniac Patreon. Use code BETS26 to get 50% off a month or your first full year over there. That includes the Dog Dominator if you want that kind of thing for the first full year. Let's dive into this week. Before we do that, what is going on, my brother Retail Ripper? Why is JT a starfish? He's a statfish this week. You know, this is how the Justin Thomas situation works. As you can see on the screen, we are filtered by the best ranked golfers in my model. And we got to scroll all the way down here to find a Justin Thomas. 29th in the model. He's $8,600. You know, everyone else around him is 78, 79. He's slightly mispriced in my opinion. We got some course history issues over here. We've got some links issues over here. If you take a look, 99th, that's a miscut in 2022. 60th, 62nd, 22nd. That is a simple situation explaining why he doesn't do great in links environments. And then if we want to go over to comp courses over here, you can take a quick peek and find the Open Championships for our guys. So we can filter by, you can go Control F and you find Justin Thomas, and he's all the way down here. This is Justin Thomas's stuff for you. He's hardly ever gained more than 1.1 strokes in a single Open Championship, and that was in 2024. He's started to play better, but you just aren't getting anything exciting from him. In fact, he's lost you fractions of strokes. So there's a lot better links players in the situation here. JT, Starfish, Statfish. At me with the Statfish, me, baby. So there we go, Retail Ripper. What's going on? What's going on, JP Delfrio? Let's have a week. We don't like Siwoo. We'll see what happens with Siwoo there, Manano. But we had, JP Delfrio, we had ourselves a week. By the way, I'm going to go scooting over here to the bet tracker real quick and, you know, just pump some air in my tires. We don't often have fantastic 10, 9.5 unit weeks. We had a 9.5 unit week last week, friends. We invested a casual 3.2 units on our winners, and they returned 17 total units. If we take a look at all the other units that we were supposed to, we would have lost all of these bets over here. So that's 7.5. There you have it. 9.5 unit week. And it came down to Ben Coles, top 5ing, top 10ing, top 20ing. It came down to Blades Brown, top 20. We had a Blades Brown top 10 as well. He finished T12. That would have been another 1 unit for us. Andrew Putnam, top 40, was a 1.8 unit swing because we had a full unit on his return in a top 40, who was like T23 going into the back 9, and then made 6-6 on 14 and 15. 14 is the drivable par 4, and he freaking made a 6 on there. So that was, we could have easily gone into the double digits had Ben Coles just hit the green, maybe made a birdie on that hole, or Blades Brown finishing top 10, or Andrew Putnam, you know, kind of pooping down his leg there on Sunday. But you know what? Beggars can't be choosers. We had a fantastic week. And then we also had a really solid week when I come to our little, our 5-legger parlay using the boost last week. We had Emiliano Grillo for top 40, Ben Coles, Blades Brown, Bezzy, and Doug Gim all coming home to party for us for a nice little 11-unit W. So we came home with 20 units from the John Deere Classic, and then I promptly spent that on a moving company, which will be happening on Thursday. So we are getting out of the house. We have moved to another area, 20 minutes away. Nothing too crazy, still in the state of Iowa. The good God's country over here. And moving forward, that's enough about me. Let's get to some names that are going to be playing this week. What do we need to know this week? at the Genesis Scottish Open. We are looking for a variety of scores. Medium, hard, and hellish is going to be the same across, depending on the weather. If the weather's crazy, I haven't looked at the weather lately. Let's actually take a quick peek at the weather. It could have changed since the last time I looked. When I did, it was an early morning benefit for Friday and Thursday. So nothing too crazy, but it looks like we're starting to see Thursday gather some wind to some capacity, lull in the afternoon, whatever this means. We're just looking at lines and flows and colors on Thursday afternoon. Friday seems to have some pretty calm conditions until 2 o'clock. Then it gets a little windy, and that's when the PM wave will be playing its golf. So that'll likely play a little bit more difficult than we can expect. So I have not placed too many bets this week. This weather has changed from Thursday drastically. This was not the case when we looked yesterday. So we're going to be holding off, especially on first round leader bets, which, by the way, we hit a Zach Blair. Zach Blair at the freaking John Deere as well at 115 to 1. But we had a dead heat, that bad boy, unfortunately. But we had his top 5 as well at 2.3 units. So that was delightful. Zach Blair, I watched my man literally make the craziest up and down in front of me to shoot 8 under par and clinch our tie there. So shout out to Zach. When it comes to the weather this week again, taking a look here, Thursday is starting to intrigue me a little bit because there could be some sort of a gap here in the afternoon, potentially. We don't know. The best we can do is look on Wednesday night when we have the most finite information, because they'll tee off a couple hours before that. We don't even have to wake up early. You can almost just stay up super late-ish and know exactly what the weather's going to be right before they tee off, because it's going to be 5 hours ahead of us, I think. So the time is currently 8 p.m. in Scotland. It is currently 2 p.m. in Iowa. So it's 5 hours ahead of Eastern time. It's 6 hours ahead of Central time. There you have your international time weather, 6 hours. Reference time zone, 6 zones. Whatever that means, doesn't matter. Let's have ourselves a day. If you could pick one Scot, who would it be? It would likely be at Adam. Is that what you're trying to ask? Or is this a Scotty? It would obviously be Scotty, my friend. It would obviously be Scotty. But that's Scott, not Scotty. Okay, so Scotty Scheffler, number 1 in the model. He is second in the micro model, by the way. If we're taking a look at the micro model here, he's second to Wyndham Clark, who's number 1. Wyndham Clark is incredible when it comes to strokes gained out the rough from 150 and beyond. He is one of the better guys. Now, again, I'm trying my best to get as much data in here across the models, but when you put in a bunch of euros, the data gets a little goofy, all right? So let me try and find Wyndham here quickly again for us. Here he is over here. I lied to you for strokes gained out the rough. He's actually a very good wedge player out of the rough, not a long iron player. I knew it was one of them. So this is what's helping him a lot. But if we go over to the micro model, you can see what Wyndham Clark's situation. We actually got to scroll quite a bit for some weird reason, because it's using the last 12 months strokes gained and not the most recent period of strokes gained. So here's Wyndham Clark's profile for us. If you take a look to the right-hand side, you can see he's going to be hitting 1 shot from inside 100 yards, 4 shots from 100 to 150, 8 shots from 150 to 200, and 6 shots from 200 plus, based off of his various drives, based off of the average driving distances on the various holes at this golf course over the last 4 years. You add some distances on for Wyndham, you take some off for the likes of JJ Spahn, and as a result, you can see, okay, average drivers of the golf ball this week are going to have proximity buckets of 50 to 100, 100 to 150, 150 to 200, and 200 plus. They're going to have 1, 4, 7, 6, whereas the long drivers are going to have 2, 6, 6, 5. So they're starting to shift those extra approach shots into the wedge range versus the longer irons. And then the short guys will go 1, 3, 8, 6. So they got 14 shots from 150 and beyond compared to the 11 that long drivers will have. So interesting to note. And then obviously you're replacing those longer irons with wedge play, So that is the benefit of driving the golf ball well around here. You can kind of shift some mid irons into the wedge proximity ranges. And as a result of that, if we take a look at some course history over here for us, I'm going to take a peek ski and just filter by the strokes gained over here to show you guys the best strokes gained course history at Renaissance Club. And just what do you notice here when we take a look at this kind of stuff? In my opinion, I'm just seeing incredibly good drivers of the golf ball, minus Tom Kim. So Rory McIlroy, Matt Fitzpatrick, Xander Schauffele. I mean, we can just go over to strokes gained off the tee here, and you can see what I'm talking about. Like these guys, and these numbers aren't different for this year than they are long term. These are the last 12 months, and they probably expand for most of these guys to further beyond that because they just remain the same types of golfers. Maybe they get a bit stronger here, but stronger there, bit weaker there, but weaker here. But overall, we typically know these guys drive the golf ball well. And you can tell by like Rory, Fitzy, Xander, Scotty, Ludwig, Adam Scott. He's a fantastic iron player, but Adam's almost gaining more strokes with his driver than he is with his irons. Not necessarily, but almost. That's very impressive driving ability from Adam off the tee there. Tom Kim obviously not necessarily going to be moving the world off the tee. Inaccurate to some degree as well. Whatever. Short off the tee there. But everyone else here, very, very good drivers of the golf ball. They've all had very good results at this venue over the last little while. I think we're going to really lean into guys off the tee here a little bit this week. And as a result, I've kind of gone 5% strokes gained off the tee and 5% distance as two additional metrics that we're including in the micro model strokes gained as well. So, the course fit, and then we're going to dial in extra on some of the nuances of the course fit over there. And then we're going to do 5% for medium and hard. And then we're going to do some 10% for the last 2 months worth of strokes gained over here. And then for the last 4 months of strokes gained, we do 5% more of model weightings there. And then we're going to scoot back to some course history for 15% additional weightings and strokes gained open championship for 10% as some comp course. How do you play in links type style golf courses? Not necessarily this is super linksy, but same grass, same concept. And then just your overall finish rates. What are your finish rates over the last little while? And that's going to give us our model rankings down the side over here. So now that we know that, now we know what to expect from the course, let's dive into some names. Let's dive into some bets. Hit the like, hit the subscribe. Let's go. Space Squatch must have. I will be looking for a top 40 parlay again this week. Absolutely. I think once you know what you're the best at, you go with that. We can lose 21 of them in a row and still be up because it was a 22-1 ticket. So we can go to town in that department. I will be doing that on Twitter or in the Discord going tomorrow, that kind of thing. Once we get some good weather ideas. All right, so Scotty Scheffler doing his thing. Finishing inside the top 5 as often as Rory McIlroy finishes inside the top 20 over the last 12 months. That's quite hilarious. And we get Scotty Scheffler over at DraftKings. If we're taking a look at his pricing, we can take a look-see over here. Go to the Genesis Scottish Open. And Scotty is plus 108 for a top 5. Scotty Scheffler has finished 3rd and 8th in his 2 finishes at this golf course in the past. Prior to that, he missed the cut. And then in the last 4 starts, we have a 4th, a 3rd, a 2nd, and a 12th. I mean, I faded Scotty Scheffler at the Travelers with the top 5 there. I wasn't quite thrilled about that. Guess what? He top 5 of the Travelers. So I think Scotty Scheffler could absolutely be live again this week. We probably want to get some sort of exposure to him in some capacity. And the fact that he finishes inside the top 5 71% of the time gives me some belief that we got a solidish number here at plus 108 with ties paid in full. So not making that bet yet. We will confirm weather tomorrow. We will confirm some lines if we want to shop around, do that kind of thing, see what's going on. But that's definitely something we're in the mood for Scotty Scheffler. Rory McIlroy, on the other hand, is going to just be a DFS play. We're going to go balls to the wall with Rory at 12,000 because if you want to start with Scotty Scheffler and then click Fitzy at 99, which is the first 9K option, you go Scotty, Fitzpatrick, Alex, leaves you with $6,525 for your 4 remaining names. If you go Rory, Alex Fitzpatrick, or Rory, Matt Fitzpatrick, sorry, it leaves you with $7,000 for your remaining players. So, significantly easier. You can dive one into the 6K range and then kind of stroll back into the 7s and 8s if you play your cards lower in the 7K range with Rory. You don't even have to go with Alex Fitzpatrick or Matt Fitzpatrick. You can go with someone even cheaper like a Chris Gotterup. It's so difficult to get a Scotty Scheffler, Chris Gotterup, and then that's that. Like, you're going all the way down to the bottom of the barrel here to find names, in my opinion. Super difficult to do, especially in links environments. Like, you're trying to find the right guy is going to be tricky as balls. So just kind of spamming that 9K range, which seems like it's going to be the case. We got a lot of high-ranked guys in that price range, and we're going to be targeting them in DFS this week. Also, I'm done going after just one or two guys at the top. That's not where I differentiate myself that well. I've always seemed to just get the wrong side of one of the top price guys that just has the bad week. So from now on, we're just going to kind of smear the butter over the top of the toast at the 10K range and some of the 9s, and then take our stance on some 7s and 6K guys down at the bottom. That's what we really did well last week with Mac Marsner and Christian Bezuidenhout. Ben Cole's one of them as well. We really liked how they graded out there. We were overboard on AJ Ewart as well. We was absolutely striking the living piss out of it and couldn't get it home on the greens. So worth noting there. Okay, so we love Rory McIlroy. The course history is incredible. The form is so splotchy with this guy. 32nd at the US Open, 12th at the Memorial. That's basically his last couple starts. Not that impressive. Is he going to come up here and just demolish this golf course like he's done in the last 3 years? Absolutely. I mean, first, fourth, and second in the last 3 starts. It's just course history isn't super sticky, but I mean, this is insane. He's gaining like 36 strokes on the field in 3 tournaments at this golf course. He's averaging 3 strokes on the field per round. Insane. So we'll see what happens there. Alrighty, so moving on down. John Rahm, welcome to the DP World Tour with some PGA Tour players in the mix. Has not played yet since 2022, finished 55th. Not the greatest there. Also just missed the cut at the US Open. I'm relatively bullish on him. I'm not going to be going too crazy. I think I could see him playing him in like 1/5 of my lineups, maybe 1/6 of my lineups. I'll definitely will have some Rahm exposure at the top here. Kind of spendy, but in my opinion, worth it. I think he fits the overall profile. Even if you just ignore the numbers and just think about who John Rahm is as a golfer, he's a very powerful driver of the golf ball. Kind of fits perfectly in track with all of these guys that we saw in the course history filter who are just very good drivers of the golf ball. John Rahm is one of them. A fantastic mid to long iron player as well. The more you get the wedges out of his hand, the better. He's got very good short game around the greens. He's had some fantastic track records in the Open. So the long-term situation for John Rahm at this golf course makes way too much sense. The unfortunate situation is we are seeing a guy that's brain is like, he's now being asked questions if he's going to fund a tour he's playing on with his own money. That's not something you want to be asked when you are trying to go win a golf tournament, but this is where he is now. This is the situation he finds himself in. 11-5, we can dive, but I'm not overly excited about his short-term success, but it makes a lot of sense from a long-term perspective. If he would play well this week, I would not be shocked. We like John Rahm. Wyndham Clark is going to be our first bet of the week, friends, 33-1, and we're going to be betting him top 5 at plus 560. Third in the model, Number one in the micro model as well for course fit. If we take a look at Wyndham Clark's micro model rankings, and we can even leave the overall scoring over here for us, not necessarily the most accurate driver of the golf ball. But if we go over to the micro model, there's only been about a 50% hit rate on these fairways. So they're not necessarily that easy to hit either. I think, you can see a lot of them running off into the rough, just barely, kind of like we just saw Wyndham Clark thrive at the Shinnecock US Open, which, was kind of linksy off the tee in a way and around the greens. And I think he's kind of figured his stuff out there. The course fit model has got Wyndham Clark 22nd in green regulations, 33rd in driving distance, and 61st off the tee. But where he's starting to really separate himself is on approach, around the green, and putting. So like anytime he's approaching the green, this man is lethal. So we are seeing him add all three of those up to give us a number one ranking in the course fit model on the micro model side of things. He scores a total of 2.97, and Scotty Scheffler scored a 2.87. And it's largely got to do with the fact that putting and around the green, what's going on here? Interesting to note. It's pretty close, isn't it? Scotty actually hits it a little further than Wyndham as well, but I think it's a close call. Yeah, so it's not necessarily like Wyndham's chasing Scotty away, but, the putting kind of letting Scotty down a bit. Wyndham's been putting his brains out lately, and they hit a lot of greens at this golf course. So that's probably where we're getting a bit of a difference maker. If you take a look at the green regulation rate, you're at 72% of the time. So Wyndham Clark going to find a lot of greens. If we take a look at the recent form, he leads the field in that department. Nobody's playing better than Wyndham Clark over the last 2 months. If we take a look at the last 4 months, it gets a little closer. But again, you play Wyndham Clark when he's balling out, and his last couple starts have been a win, a third, an 11th, a first, and then a fifth at the Travelers. He was right in the mix at the Travelers as well. So I think he's trying to make the most of playing some good golf right now, and as a result, we will see some good things coming from him. We haven't even got to the best part about the situation here with Wyndham Clark. If you take a look at his course history, he hasn't finished worse than 25th at this golf course in the last 4 years. 25th, 16th, 10th, and 11th, in his last 4 appearances here. He is the most informed golfer coming to a golf course that he's had a fantastic floor at. So he's driven the ball, I'd imagine driven the ball well around here, or got out of the rough to some capacity. I think Wyndham Clark is absolutely live to just compound this form that he's in right now and the course history form that he has. We get a very fair price. DraftKings has a 33-1 out there. We are going to him in the top 5 market as well at plus 560 because we want to make sure that we get exposure to this really impressive upside. We've had 3 top 5s in his last 4 starts. We've had four top 5s in his last 5 starts. And we get a plus 560 for Wyndham Clark and a 33-1 at a golf course that he hasn't finished worse than 25th at. Yes, his best finish is a 10th. We're going to look to improve on that. The form right now is just way too good in my opinion. So there's Wyndham Clark for us, friends. We're going to be looking at him in the top 5 market, in the top outright market over there at 33-1. We'll be looking to him quite heavily in DK as well this week as our 3rd ranked golfer in the model. Boom chakalaka, Bob's your uncle. Matt Fitzpatrick checks. We have 4 guys, by the way, that check all 7 of the boxes we mentioned above here. If you take a look at Scotty, Rory, that's going to make too much sense. Matt Fitzpatrick is our 3rd guy that checks those boxes. He's got a 4th and a 6th at this venue in the past. He's got some really impressive open track records, gaining 1.35 strokes at those kind of venues. Yes, Wyndham Clark also, by the way, struggles at Open Championships, but he's also struggled at majors in particular. And the last Open Championship Wyndham Clark played in, I think, was a 2nd place finish or a 3rd or 4th place finish at the Open Championship last year. So, worth noting, he's starting to figure it out over the seas. And maybe he actually has more fans in Scotland than he does at the US Open. So, we'll see what happens there. But back to Matthew Fitzpatrick playing some fantastic golf as well. On top of that, strokes gained Open Championship metrics, a 4th and a 2nd at the Canadian and the Travelers, with a 36th and a 22nd at the Memorial and the US Open in his last 4 starts. Playing some good golf. We typically want to see Matt Fitzpatrick do his thing at extremely difficult golf courses or easy courses, but this kind of middle ground, he's fine. He obviously checks all the boxes. I think we're looking for strokes gained over half a stroke in all 3 of these categories, medium, hard, and hell. And he checked that box for the medium, hard, and hell scoring. So he's fine, or over half a stroke, or whatever I chose. Can't remember exactly what it was, but he checked those boxes. So that's good to see. Guys that check all 3 areas you can see are in blue font. So Scotty and Rory were top 20 across the board for medium, hard, and hell scoring. Anyone else we see over here? Ludwig Oberg was another one. You can see as we go down here, guys that have 3 blue boxes in this column is top 20 in all of them. So Fitzy doing good things there. He typically finds fairways unless I have a lot of money on him for a top 20 at the US Open. And then he just drives the ball like a complete idiot. So we're going to probably think that would continue not to happen this week since I'm not overly invested in him. But I think we can take a look at Matthew Fitzpatrick in some capacity this week. He does have an exceptionally top 20 floor, 65% of the time. So 2/3 of the time he's finishing inside the top 20. If we go over to the top 20 market for Matthew Fitzpatrick, it's -114, including ties. I'd imagine there is some value to be found there, considering it's a 65% clip that he's jumping inside the top 20. He's 5th in the model, and we get ourselves some course history that's had him not finish worse than 39th with those 6th and 4th on either side of that. So I think we can potentially look at a Matthew Fitzpatrick top 20 bet if you shop around a little bit. You never know what numbers you find out there that also include ties. It's worth noting, maybe you can get a little closer to each even money over there for Matthew Fitzpatrick in the top 20 market. We'll see what we find in the Discord later this evening on that. So I'm actually going to do this while we are doing this. I want to make sure that I have documented that I'm going to be betting these guys as I go through them. Because I've made some bets. I haven't made all of them yet, and I'm kind of researching as we go along here today. Okay, this is usually where I put my DFS notes so you can see my player pool, how much I'm going with the guy, whatever, off the color codes over there. But for now, we're going to be using that as a note to bet certain options. Scotty Scheffler, top 5, right? We were looking at that as well. Kenny's big on Tommy Fleetwood this week. I can't say I'm overly excited about him. He just seems to be just doing Tommy Fleetwood stuff, just playing some steady golf, doing his thing. But he's just, last 2 starts here has finished 34th and then a 6th and a 4th before that. I don't know what to make of that kind of regression in performance at this venue. I wouldn't overreact to it. We are seeing also some really solid finishes of 11th, and 14th from Tommy. That 4th at the Memorial is one of his last true upside weeks in the last couple. Because Tommy, this top 5 rate was significantly higher, and it's starting to whittle down a little bit now. We're starting to see the top 10 rate now clips below top 50%. So he's not even finishing top 10 every other time anymore, because we just keep having these finishes that are just slightly underwhelming for who Tommy Fleetwood is, for what we are being charged for him. If we filter by price, how does the model have Tommy Fleetwood ranked versus DK this week? We got him 1 spot better than DK. So, this is a classic. Play some Tommy Fleetwood. Not too much of him, just enough of him to have him in your lineups, and off we go. Nothing. You don't want to get too frisky with the top of the board. I think if there is one true fade, it would be Scotty Scheffler for me. So I'm kind of very comfortable playing as many of these high-ranked guys in my lineup as I need to, just to have some sort of exposure to them, so that everyone else at the bottom of my roster can be doubled down on and have enough combinations of those leverage pieces, which are like 5%ers, versus your leverage piece at the top here is still going to be 18% owned. 15% owned. You know, like the true leverage comes a little further down where you can really get frisky with some guys. By the way, I see we're asking for Siwoo requests. We will go there later. You know, we're going down the board just slowly. So that's my Tommy Fleetwood take. I think he's fairly priced. You know, he does his stuff pretty much across the board. Very, very accurate. Just everything's light green. You know, there's no true dark green color for Tommy Fleetwood over here. It just does everything well. That's just all Tommy Fleetwood does. So that's what's cooking over there. Alrighty. Brian, I was thinking about betting Rory. I just don't know how to get him right. So I've just stopped. So congratulations. I'm not going to be betting him outright this week, but 10-1 makes a ton of sense for Rory if you can stick around for that kind of a price drop. But instead we went to somebody that is going to be 28-1 with 6 places. His name is Chris Gotterup. He's the defending champ just coming off a win. I'm not afraid of what Chris Gotterup can get up to. I mean, he's now won 3 times this year. Maybe he completely bites the dust this week, but I was kind of excited for Chris Gotterup to tee it up at the links. We have a 66-1 on him at the Open Championship from a major preview, future preview that we did on the Patreon there. That was free to everybody to find. And I want to get exposure to him again. And he's playing the greatest golf now after a win. You know, that 62 was devastating to me as a Ben Coles ticket holder. But we're going to try and ride that momentum that Chris Gotterup has. We hit Gotterup at the Sony at 10-1 after round 2. So why? Because it was windy as balls. You know, when it blows, Gotterup goes. So it was obviously breathless around John Deere Classic to get to 62. For the round, but he played some good golf there. Obviously enjoyed that golf course. He, you know, won here last year. And if you take a look at his major track record, he finished 4th at the Open Championship, I believe, last year, or 3rd, one of those two. Incredible stuff in your debut Open. You know, he just figures out from Oklahoma. Obviously, he's got some fantastic feel in the wind. We got that 6 places each way as well. So that's 1/5 of 28, which is what, like plus 360, plus 560 for a top 6. Obviously, the dead heats apply to that if that is the case. But we're also going to be going with Gotterup top 20 at plus 118 over on DraftKings. You can find that there. Chris Gotterup finds himself inside the top 20 50% of the time. He's now 7th in the model. He's just coming off a win. He's the defending champ. Give me this plus money top 20 situation for one of the best win players that we know. And currently one of the best players with upside that we know. So we've got that top 6. We've got the top 20 as well. We truly may land up just adding the top 10 as well, making Gotterup our kind of a ladder situation here. But I'm in on Chris Gotterup for that top 20 already. I think anytime you get Chris Gotterup into the wind, he also checks all 7 boxes this week. Form, course history, medium, easy, difficult scoring conditions. You know, he's solid across the board, gaining in those all 3 over there. Top 20 in 2 of them. Fantastic putter right now. He's driving the ball like a piss missile. I'm not too worried about the fairway finding percentages. He hits it so straight in the wind when he hits those little runners. I think he's going to drive the ball fantastic around you. He still drives the ball well. Gains strokes off the tee repeatedly. But he was driving it so nicely around the John Deere. So lots to like there. 15th in the micro model. Good to see that. You know, gaining 1.8 strokes in the last 2 months. Obviously, with the win, that's going to be higher than everything else that he's leading into the week with. We get a 1-spot jump in model ranking versus DraftKings pricing. So we'll be playing some Chris Gotterup probably in the 20-25% range this week. Maybe 33% range. I really kind of do like him at $9,300 there. Then we're going to scoot on down. Xander Schauffele is $9,800. So I think this will be the first instance where the model completely disagrees with what we're dealing with here. There's a 3-spot difference in DK price versus our power ranking over here. So the next 2, Ludwig and Xander, both The model, not necessarily like them as much as we will see DraftKings price them that way. Ludwig obviously had a fantastic last 4 months, which means the first 2 months of the 4 since his last 2 months are rather irrelevant by his standards. Last 2 months include some finishes that are 55th, 39th, 17th, and 17th. That was after an incredible run of golf where he could not finish outside the top 5. So Ludwig really coming back to a golf course where he threw his first away win away, essentially. This 4th place finish here, I think last year was not necessarily the greatest finish, kind of choked that away, and then 8th place finish last year as well. So I think he likes this golf course. It suits his game. He's a fantastic driver of the golf ball. If you take a look at those stats for old Ludwig, off the tee, one of the best. That's a nice 1.7 dark green box for Ludwig. And then we've figured out around the green play a little bit. We're just not capitalizing on the shots that we need to capitalize on. The high leverage situations for Ludwig Åberg have not been pounced on, unfortunately. So we need to see that from him a bit more before going to the outright market. But at $9,600, I'm gonna have a slight disagreement with the model ranking here. Would I price Ludwig ahead of Tommy Fleetwood? Probably. Would I price him ahead of Xander? Probably. At this golf course, Chris Gotterup, I don't think so, actually. So maybe we can do some fun maniac overriding over here. Let's get Chris Gotterup up a little bit to that 4th spot. Yeah, I can handle Chris Gotterup between Jon Rahm and Wyndham Clark. I think that's fair. And then we're going to get Ludwig up a smidgen as well to ahead of Tommy and Xander. There we go. Okay. Some ADHD tinkering, just for fun. Kind of get ourselves... It's interesting that I really like the 2 guys that don't check 6 boxes. They only check 5 with Rahm and Clark, but I still kind of fancy them, how they grade out. So I think Jon Rahm's overall finish rates are going to be doing him a lot of justice this week. If we take that out of the model ranking, he goes all the way to 8th. So he's playing well on Live. Can he do it this week? You never know. All right, so back to what we were chatting about here. Xander just not finishing inside the top 5 nearly enough for this kind of a price tag. It's just someone that I want to see some upside from in order to really get behind you. If you take a look at his more recent finishes, 51st at the Travelers, 11th at the US Open, 29th at the Memorial. Just underwhelming for the former world number 2. Just not getting it done right now. Speaking of not getting it done, I did not do a quick word from our partners. We'll get back to you in 2 seconds. New DraftKings customers, get in the game right now. Sign up today, make your first deposit of just $5 and instantly get $25 in free Pick 6 bonus picks, plus a powerful single-use 100% winnings boost token. That means you can play for free with $25 in bonus picks, and if you win, boost those winnings up to 100%. That's up to $100 boost in cash. New customers only. Bonus picks and your boost token expire in just 14 days, so don't wait. This offer is live from June 20th through August 23rd. Download the DraftKings app, sign up, and start playing Pick 6 today. Must be 18 or older, 19 in Alabama, Nebraska, 21 in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia. Valid only where Pick 6 is available. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. New customers only, minimum $5 deposit required. Full terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos. Play free, win bigger, only on DraftKings Pick 6. Boom, boom, boom. Thank you, DraftKings, for sponsoring the show. Guys, thank you so much for hitting the like, hitting the subscribe as you use code FGD upon sign up as a first-time depositor. Moving on to some more bets, some more thoughts. We're kind of just leaving Xander alone, but we won't be leaving him alone entirely. You never know. The reason we didn't go with Chris Gotterup last week, we went with Ben Griffin instead, because look at what we were looking at Chris Gotterup's world coming into the week. A 30th, a 43rd, a 27th. Womp womp. He was the odds favorite to win. He was the number 1 odds option, shortest odds, and didn't have the greatest form, not necessarily the greatest course record either. And won the tournament from an hour tee time ahead. So it happens. Variance happens. You want to be on that side. You've got to give yourself the opportunity to be on the good side of variance as well. So, you scroll over and ta-da, the only guy at the top of the board here that played at the John Deere, and he won it. Shocker. No Ben Griffin, who seems to be fighting Gryffindors, are closing for him lately, when he's not even planning on them to do so. So moving forward from Xander to Patrick Cantlay. Now, Patrick Cantlay is a different situation. He's one ranking point beneath his Boyke Xander in the 10 hole here at $8,800. So he's our first $8,000 option. Patrick has been grading out fantastically for me the last little while. And we kind of just ignored him a little bit at the Travelers. He was looking for a top 5 at the Travelers and just did not get it done. 14th place, 17th place at the Memorial. So taking a look at what Patrick Cantlay gets up to, this is the first time he's playing here in 3 years, or 2 years at least. He missed the cut in 2023 and 4th in 2022. So a bit of both at this golf course. I think we're going to be looking at a Patrick Cantlay top 20 because we get a discount on the price here at plus 144. And if you take a look at his finishing position rates over here, he finishes inside the top 5% of the time. That's not good. Like compared to Tommy Fleetwood, that's 30% less. Compared to Ludwig, that's 21% less. So the top 5 rate's pretty poor. Top 10 rate, he's starting to finish a bit better, but still not nearly as much as the guys that are ahead of him here. John Rahms, Fitzpatrick's, Ludwig's, Tommy Xander's. 26% of the time is all Patrick Cantlay inside the top 10. But then he starts to catch up to the pack in the top 20 market. Yeah, 53% of the time is he inside the top 20. So I think that would be an angle to pursue, since it's happening half the time, since it's happened 2 of the last 3 in the last little while. 2 of them, one of them being a major. Patrick Cantlay is not a major guy. He's not a serious. He's not a savage anymore. Clip this, shockingly, Patrick Cantley's going to stare down Scotty and Rory for the Scottish Open win, but I don't see that happening. It could. But you know what I'm saying? You want to take advantage of this consistency he's providing with you. You want to take advantage of the good course fit. You want to take advantage of him checking all the boxes. He's playing some good golf. He's just not getting across the line from an upside perspective at plus 144. That makes sense to me, if you ask me. So I like a Patrick Cantlay top 20 bet there, plus 144. We've got some good course history. We've got some good form, good course fit. The numbers check out. He's just not inspiring from a savageness, competitiveness, perspective. $8,800 though, cheap-ish. And the top 20 numbers also, you're laying 3/4 of a unit to 1-1, basically. So I think Patrick Cantlay will be a top 20 bet for us as well. Again, he is going off in that early wave of Thursday morning weather, which, if we were looking here, it was looking a lot better earlier. He tees off at 7 o'clock. He's going to be going into like 10-mile-per-hour winds for his second 9, while the guys that go off at 9 o'clock on Friday are going to have 0 wind, basically, apart from a couple breezy gusts. The Scottish kilts provide a bit more farting airflow than us Americans with pants. That's where the gusts might be coming from there after a couple bowls of haggis on Thursday night after Bobby Mack, his first round leader. Who knows? Maybe that's a reality that things work out into. But anyway, getting back to the model here, monitoring Patrick Cantlay, like the top 20 situation for him over there. All right. Harris English, we almost said Siwoo, my brother. We're going down the line. Harris English is intriguing to me. He's probably going to be a top 30 bet. I mean, he's finishing inside the top 30 71% of the time. That is insane. Considering he only finishes inside the top 20 29% of the time. It's almost 2.5x what he does top 20 rate. So His upside is like missing. He's finished 42nd, 34th, and 22nd at this golf course in the last 3 appearances here. And he's finished 38th and 17th in 2 of his last 3 starts. He missed the freaking cut at the US Open by 1 to lose me 8 units. I invested 2, I think, at plus 400 to finish inside the cut, to make the cut at all 4 majors, and he missed the US Open by 1. It's the first missed cut he has had in a major in forever. Tough scenes there. But still playing good golf, still giving you that super solid floor. 38th at the Travelers, that checks out. Finishing inside the top 30, 71% of the time. If we go to a Harris English top 30, I kind of don't mind Harris English. The Open Championship was one of his 2 second place finishes in majors last year. So if we're looking for HE, plus 132 for a top 30 around this golf course makes a lot of sense. If we wanted to just be extra shy, Charlie Hall says shy kids don't get sweets, but, minus 116 for a top 40, you never know. But I like the actual plus 132 for a top 30 there for Harris English. We will make sure we make that a note there for a top 30. Let's do that. Top 30. This was a top 20 for Cantlay. Scotty was a top 5. Top 5. And then Fitzy, we were going like top 20 again, right? Because he had that 65% finish rate there. Beautiful. Moving down to Tyrrell Hatton. Tyrrell Hatton playing some good golf. 6th at the 2023 edition of this tournament and 24th in 2022. Then he went to Live. Finished 7th at the US Open. Checks a lot of boxes. Very linksy style venue. I don't have his his LIV stuff in here. Tyrrell doesn't quite do the work here off the tee at this golf course. Lacking distance and accuracy. Not ideal. But does still check 5 boxes this week. If we're taking a look at his recent form in the last 2 months, he's gaining 1.8 strokes on the field. That's pretty much right up there with the best of them. There he is there with Chris Gotterup and Matthew Fitzpatrick range. So playing some good golf if you ask me. What we see from Tyrrell is a 12th ranked ranking in our model. We know he can do good things. We've got a 24th and a 6th here. I think Tyrrell Hatton could absolutely be a top 20 type situation if we are getting a fair price on him. Again, we're firing off bets at the top of the board, the best players in the model. Sometimes betting on the best guys is a good way to go about it because they are a lot more consistent, usually, than some of the bottom edge guys. But we hit a top 40 parlay at even money pretty much on all 5 of the guys we went with at the John Deere Classic last week. So it can happen. All right, so top 20 for Tyrrell is going to be in that plus 134 range. I think that's very fair. What's he got up to? Has he got up to anything on? Yeah, there's people wanting to know the same questions we do. 7th at the US Open. That's the last thing he's done. He won at Andaluca as well. So, he's playing some good golf. We get a top 20 on Tyrrell. 12th in the model. Considering it, I'm going to think on it a little more. I struggle to trust that he's going to look after my money, is Tyrrell Hatton. But, if you just take a look at the numbers entirely, he's doing some good stuff. Back to the model rankings, back to going down the board. We have 2 more outrights still coming up here. I see one of them here on the screen. So it's coming up here shortly. But here's Siwoo Kim, as requested by the chat, which I have been electing a little bit here. Good day, AJ. Loves music. Good to see you, my friend. I agree with Mayo. I think Chikara is Ludwig at 4 times better odds. Plus Chikara actually wins. Yes, that is on the DP World Tour. Ludwig also won on the DP World Tour and has just kind of got that like, oh, geez, I'm good realization now. Maybe Ludwig, I don't know. He's kind of figured his stuff out. Seymour, Boats, what's up? We're going with a Penge at 55 to 1 is mighty appealing. I think I see there's an 80 out there on DraftKings from what I recall. Let's take a look here quickly. Because I was kind of tempted on a Penge situation. Yeah, 80-41 for old Marco Polo, if you're in the mood for that. At DraftKings, use code FGD signing up over there, my friend. Obviously, you don't have DraftKings. Available in all 50 states. Okay. Yes. You know, Marco Penge, let's just quickly... I said I was going to do Siwoo, as we get Seymour. We want Seymour over Siwoo right now, which is hilarious. Okay, so Marco Penge, quite down the board here. He's also somebody that's had some health concerns. He finished second here last year. Obviously, Marco Penge, fantastic driver of the golf ball. Even with his health issues we've had the last little while, he's been gaining some strokes off the tee. But, you know, it seems like he's taken his time away from the game for quite a while over here. I think it was the PGA Championship that he had to step away from, I believe. And this is his first appearance. Finished 9th at the BMW International Open. So, I mean, at 80-41, I'm being absolutely bullish on this guy for a while. We get him in his home nation, home continent. He's an Englishman playing in Scotland, and we get a 9th place finish at a Euro event the week before, at a course that he just finished second at. So I think I'm going to be joining you guys on Marco Penge, friends, at 84. I think it's the best number in the market as well. So I'm going to, there we go. Marco Penge, $5 to an 8.25, 8.5 units there for us. So there we go. There we have it. Marco Penge, community bet. Off we go, friends. Seymour and my boy Brian Van Gorder's moustache. Love the dynamic going on here. We're going with Marco Penge at 80-41. I'm in. Gave him the case. He's $7,700 as well. Would be playing him in DFS. Don't know what his ownership is going to look like. Should we override him a smidgen just for the hell of it? We're just going to add him 0.2. Let's give him a full half a year. Get him into the top 40. Yeah, ahead of. Yeah, these seem like names he could... I mean, if he's playing great golf, he probably deserves to be probably in the top 30 there. There we go. That's fair to me. 31st, 33rd. Old Penge. Cool. Little community bet. I agree. Team Marco Polo, activate. Let's go, baby. I think. I asked Kenny this as well. Scottish Houston Open... If you take a look at Nikolai Hojgaard, he's done some good stuff at this golf course as well. You know, he finished quite nicely at the Houston, where we had him for a second place finish there as well. Unfortunately, didn't come home there, but he's got a 4th and a 6th here. He's a fantastic driver of the golf ball. It makes a lot of sense. So I think we can take a look there. But let's get to Siwoo Kim. Siwoo, please, man, no. If you're even in the chat, I know, but we got to keep you engaged. So we're keeping Siwoo on the back burner. Siwoo Kim, course history: 34th, 26th, and a miscut in his 3 appearances at this venue. His recent form includes a 10th at the Memorial, a miscut at the US Open, and a 44th at the Travelers. You can add a 2nd at the CJ Cup, Byron Nelson, to the recent form. So the upside is there. He's gaining a stroke on the field in any conditions, and he's actually better when it's in the Oreo stuffing of the strokes gain difficulty here. Let's call easy and hellish conditions the cookie, and the Oreo stuffing being medium and hard. It's not quite soft, it's not crispy and cookie, it's medium and hard, which is the Oreo filling of the easy, medium, hard, and hellish. Scoring conditions here, he's top 20 in both of those, gaining 1.5 and 1.2 strokes. He's one of the best, if not the best iron player in the field this year for this golf course. He's driving the ball to a degree that is top 20, most likely, in the field as well. But the thing is, we are looking at someone that just cannot convert putts when they matter. Now, I also believe he's probably been putting a bit better lately. So the putting metrics look better for him. He's lost in the last 2, but he has gained significantly to start off with. But we are wanting a Siwoo Kim that, gee, this was a start to a season, people. Incredible stuff. And we're starting to see similar results, but with a bit more inconsistencies between there. A bit bigger tournaments. Signature event, major. Signature event, major. Also finished top 5s in some other signatures too. But, worth noting, iron play on Fuego. Barely ever losing off the tee. In fact, when was the last time Siwoo lost strokes off the tee? It was the 3M Open in 2025, which is coming up in like 3 weeks' time. Hilarious. So it's been like a year since Siwoo Kim has lost off the tee. You're going to be hitting a ton of fairways. 10th in the model ranking for course fit. Starting to lose a bit of that consistency. He's dragging down his overall metrics over the last 2 months. But still, a fantastic option. I don't think he's going to be overly owned given the course history here. I think he can ball strike this place to death. He's not necessarily the longest driver of the golf ball, but if you're in the mood, you're in the mood, right? So go for some Siwoo if you're in the mood there. Compared to the model, DraftKings has him ranked 14th. We've got him ranked 13th. So there's a slight spot difference in ranking there for us. So I don't mind Siwoo Kim. I will be playing a bit of him. 10%. Nothing overly ambitious. I just think he's fine. Bobby Mack returning to a golf course that he's won at in the past. When did Bobby Mack win this thing? It was in 2024 after finishing second to Rory in 2023. He will be playing with Rory and last year's winner. How do you find that? You can go to the tee times here and see where Rory is. Oh, Chris Gotterup. Duh. I told you. We just mentioned that previously in the show. So he'll be playing with Chris Gotterup and Rory this week. Well, Bobby Mack. Kind of cool that they paired the groups like that together. Bobby Mack is now a 15th at the Canadian Open and a 10th at the Travelers. Those are 2 of his much better finishes. If you take a look at Robert MacIntyre's longer-term track record, it's been a bit of a gauntlet for the man. Since the second at the Valero in some really Bobby Mack conditions, we haven't had a top 40 until the RBC Canadian Open T15, and then the T10 at the Travelers in his last start. So he's not necessarily playing the greatest golf, but you could argue he's found what was drastically missing. The irons have bounced back. He gained now across the board in 2 of the last 3. So doing good things, in my opinion. The form is going to be telling us what over the last 2 months. It's still pretty poor. So we deep dive that even more. If you go over to the Trenders situation, maybe we can go the last month. These are guys that are playing really badly. Here's the guys that Rasmus doesn't have a start then. We can just get that out of there. So recent form-wise, where's Bobby Mack in the last month? I've probably scrolled right by him already. Let's take a look here. Okay, so he's 22nd. Not terrible. Significantly better than his last 2 months. Not better than his last 4. Not better than his last 6. Barely. So, you're getting that from Bobby Mack. I think he's worth a look. I think, depending on his ownership, Robert MacIntyre could be a sneaky little option here. We do have him 3 prices behind his actual price tag. So, would I move him ahead of anyone above him here? If we just add a 0.1, then we get him to... I don't mind him ahead of all of those guys either, considering he's the defending champ and starting to play better golf than most more recently. Okay, there we have that. What's up, my man? Phil in the hizzy. What's going on there? Mamanu is still in. Let's go. All right, let's get it. Asking, what would you think would be your best course fit on a course PJ, the one you think you would shoot the lowest at? It would be it would be like no, it wouldn't be Kapalua. Too many wedges. It would have to be like Vedanta. I'm a Vedanta Velarta guy. Give me wide open fairways and long irons. I'm a terrible wedge player in general. I don't hit a lot of green in regulations. I hit the driver quite far. Currently not able to even do that because I'm not even timing it up right. So that's why I need a wide fairway right now. Typically, I would do great at like a narrowish venue because I can still keep it in play for the most part. So long golf courses that are driver heavy and long iron intensive that are still hard to hit greens because I can scramble my face off. I do it all the time. So that would be me. Chipping and putting, long irons, booming driver, that kind of thing. Do not get me at a wedge fest. It's not how it's going to work out for me. All right. Cool. Nice question. I like that. You know what, Phil? Didn't plan on doing a giveaway today. Here it is. I don't know if you've been in the Model Maniac Patreon. Great question in the chat. Unprompted, unsolicited. Congratulations. Free month in the Model Maniac Patreon. For those of you that want to get in there, use code BETS26, 50% off everything. There we go. Feeling frisky. Let's move on down the board. Let's just jump straight to another bet. It's been too long since we've spoken about Alex Fitzpatrick, aka Fitzpatrick. When I'm writing in the Discord now, it's Fitzmatrick or Fitzpatrick. No P in there. It's an A or an M because it's too difficult to keep differentiating these two dudes because they are brothers, for those of you that did not know. So here we are, looking at Alex Fitzpatrick, sitting 23rd in the model, doing some good work. We are seeing a man who in the last couple starts has finished 6th at the Memorial, 20th at the Canadian Open, 23rd at the US Open, and 7th at the Travelers. He now returns as a PGA Tour member to the DP World Tour, where he won the Euro Indian not so long ago. So, he knows how to win on his own, not technically in Europe, it was in India, Asia, but on the DP World Tour. This is a co-sanctioned DP PGA Tour event that really makes him feel more welcome at home, in my opinion. He's been playing the best golf he's ever played on American soil, / in India. So we know that the form is coming in hot. I mean, look at this form for Old Fitzy, Alex-wise. It is incredible. The only golfers in the last 4 months to be playing better golf than Alex Fitzpatrick are Wyndham Clark, Ludwig Oberg, John Rahm, his brother Matt Fitzpatrick, Rory McIlroy, and Scotty Scheffler. That's the last 4 months, people. It's a long period of time. It was still cold in Iowa 4 months ago. There was still snow on the ground. This is what we're talking about. This guy's been playing fantastic golf. Now the last 2 months, he's kind of stayed the same. He's going to hit fairways like crazy. He's going to be back in the mix. He's a fantastic mid to long iron player. He's missed 2 cuts here. I think that's going to keep his stuff down a little bit. If we get some course history away here, what does Alex Fitzpatrick go from 23rd to 15th in the model? So I'm going to actually hijack this override here and give him 2 more points and get him to 15th in the model. I think that needs to be where Alex Fitzpatrick finds himself. So we're going to get back to the model rankings here. Alex Fitzpatrick, in my opinion, probably needs to be ahead of Siwoo Kim as well. 0.3. There we go. Okay. So now we're talking. I actually like him all the way up to 12th. Let's go. Give me. All right. So Alex Fitzpatrick, we're going to be going there. I also have in my bet slip prior to this was just like Alex Fitzpatrick across the board for a top 20 as well. He's going to be +1 something for a top 20. +172. So you can get him with the 6 places, which is 11-1 for a top 6. Dead heats available though. If you go over to the tournament winner here, Alex Fitzpatrick is around about 53, and you can get a +375 top 10 as well, which we'll be doing as well. So we've got the top 5, the win, and the top 10 and top 20. We're going to ladder him again. Going to climb the Fitzpatrick ladder, theatrics with him. I love that the top 20 starts at plus 172. Take a look at his top 20 rate. It's 45% finish rates. And those are finishes in the last 12 months that have come at the US Open. He finished 23rd. That doesn't count for a top 20. In my opinion, this field is not nearly US Open-y. 20th at the Canadian Open, 6th at the Memorial, and 7th at the Travelers. Those are signature events, friends. Signature events. This is not a signature event. It does have Scotty and Rory and multiple other big names in the field. But, again, he's $7,900. He's now officially ranked 12th in the model. Based off a maniac override there, I do think he needs to find himself slightly above those guys. Tyrrell Hatton getting bumped down a bit here too, so we're going to move him up a bit too. Okay, there we go. This is how we, I don't fiddle with the model much, but this is kind of how we're going right now. So there's Alex Fitzpatrick for us. We're going to ladder him when we're done with this year. So, boom. Okay, so Siwoo Kim, we've spoken about. Nikolai Hojgaard, I do not mind at $8,000. Don't think I'm going to be betting him very much. I just don't know if I can trust a profile like this. He's got insane upside. 48-1, plus 770 for a top 5. He's basically finishing top 5 when he's finishing top 10. So I wouldn't bet the top 10. I'd definitely go top 5 or top 20. I don't know. I just don't know what to do with him. I would be playing him a lot in DFS though. Will I? Nikolai Hojgaard. Victor Hovland just won against Scotty Scheffler at the Travelers. He's just finished 3rd at the Canadian Open. He also missed the cut at the US Open. So he's doing everything that we know Victor Hovland's capable of. He's top 20 in medium scoring conditions. He's a fantastic approach player. Obviously hits a ton of fairways. Kind of lacking off the tee a little bit when it comes to the driving distance side of things. But, peppering fairways never hurt anybody. Just nothing doing fantastic right now in his game. Obviously, when it clicks, he's good enough to beat the world's best golfer, which was not Scotty Scheffler. It was Wyndham Clark. I'm just joking. It was Scotty Scheffler that he did beat, but currently Wyndham Clark getting the most strokes of the last 2 months. Victor Hovland, not far behind, as you can see, trending up in the right direction lately with the win over there in a 3rd place. So I think you got to be playing Victor Hovland in some capacity. If you are not, you're missing out on money. I think he just gives you that upside. 10% owned, 15% owned, nothing too crazy, kind of the like range for me at this price tag at $9,100. Maybe even just 10% as the MME filler, which I have, you can see over the MMA sprinkle for the Dinkle, Victor Hovland. Yes. Okay. Let's go. Alrighty. Victor Hovland, Alex Smalley, $7,500. Obvious value situation here. Makes too much sense. Finished 10th and 34th in 2 of his last 3 starts. He finishes inside the top 30, 1 in every 3 starts as well. Inside the top 20, 3 of every 10. Doing some good work, but the Charles Schwab was like the last time he really was relevant. Missed the cut at the Memorial, which is hard to do. And then missed the cut at the US Open and finished 47th at the Travelers. So very uninspiring final round, final couple starts after a 3rd at the Charles Schwab. I think a golf course like this makes a lot of sense for the man. He's a solid profile when it comes to the micro model. He's going to be putting his brains out on these greens. He's putting golf balls very well right now. He's driving them totally, bro. He's driving them quite nicely with total fairway finding percentages and distance. He's gaining a bit there. He's a great iron player as well. Just got a really solid game going on right now. Just a bit inconsistent. So maybe a trip to Scotland can get Smalley rocking and rolling at $7,500. I think he's the first guy that we're really going to kind of take a peek at here. Granted, only checking 2 boxes this week. So, that's what's kind of helping you. Whatever's really generating him a lot of output, what would it be? It would be the micro model ranking for him. It's pretty hard. That 9th spot it's pretty big. What exactly about him is doing good work? We're deep diving some guys now. because we have one more name we have to chat about, and then we are done with our bets for the show. Alex Smalley. Too many Alexes in the pot here. So Alex Smalley is going to really thrive when we got these 200-plus approach yardages here. He's also going to thrive from the fairway when it comes to like a mid-ranger. Anything 200-plus, he's gaining a fraction of a tenth. So that mid-range is the problem for him between 150 to 200, which quite a lot of shots are actually coming from. So that's what's going on there. But he hits a lot of green regulations, 12th in green regulation rate, which plays a bit more of a bigger role in the micro model than people realize. And he's also been, when you're hitting that many greens and you're this good of a putter, that combination is a really good situation. Remember, they're hitting 72% of their greens. Alex Smalley is projected to hit 70. I'm lying to you because I think it's using... It's using the green regulation rate, which I have to use in my calculations to change the around the green and putting. Like the par 5 stuff is going to be a bit off. I mean, obviously the green regulation is going to be, for him, is going to be above 71% for sure on the par 5s. You know, they're a little lower there because of the approach shot coming in on your second. So that's the reasoning in that department why the overall percentage is going to be lower. So Alex Fitzpatrick, Alex Smalley, I love them. While we're talking about Alex Noren, also 12th in the micro model, putting the ball great, going to a golf course that he's finished 10th and 30th at. He's missed the cut twice. He's got a 9th at the Memorial. You know, like if you're looking for someone to just randomly spike, Alex Noren is one of the names that can do that for you. But let's chat about my guy, Aldrich Potgieter. It's 150 to 1. He's a fantastic total driver of the golf ball. Like we've seen here, you know, like if we filter by strokes gained off the tee, and then we can go to the left over here and take a look at some course history. You know, Rory's a fantastic option. Michael Brennan making a debut. Scotty's a fantastic driver. Xander's a fantastic driver. Ludwig's a fantastic driver. Kurt Kitayama, Jesper Svensson, Tommy Fleetwood. You know, like I'm skipping over a couple. John Rahm. But Tom McKibben and Doug Gim are also pretty damn good drivers too. Well, obviously we filtered by that, but they should have done a bit more here in the past. But you get what I'm saying. So when we're looking at Aldrich's profile, he was the only person in the John Deere Classic field that could drive his golf ball greenside on hole 6. For those of you unaware, you have to carry a 330-yard like ravine in order to get the ball even to land there. So he's got immense distance off the tee. He just didn't have it. I followed him the first day. He was just off. Just wasn't playing fantastic. It was hot. It was insanely whatever. It is what it is. He just wasn't playing good golf. Made eagle on that hole that he drove it next to the green. He chipped it in. So, you know, like he's playing good golf, executing good shots, just not routinely, at least at the John Deere Classic. And the thing is, he hasn't played a lot, but he finished 8th at the Canadian Open. And if you take a look, and by the way, I use Data Golf because it's a lot easier to get to there. But if you want to just take a look at recent finishes, you can go over here to this guy's name. You can clear everything out here, and you can go Aldrich. And then you can just find it over here. So you can go PGA Championship. He finished 35th, 48th at the Truist, 14th at the Cadillac, 25th at the RBC Canadian. So the fact that, you know, the Truist, whatever, you know, remove the 48th at a no-cut event. We've got a 25th, a 14th, a 35th, and an 8th in cut events. So he's doing good things. The miscut of the John Deere, I'm not going to let it turn me off the man. He's playing way too good. So it's just something we have to consider is being okay with that. And I like Aldrich at these mid-iron to long-iron venues. If you take a look at the strokes gained approach stuff again, he's a long driver of the golf ball. He's going to have 6 mid-irons. He's going to have 5 long irons. He's going to have 6 wedges and 2 like flick wedges inside 100. So, you know, if we take a look at strokes gained on approach from far away, Aldrich shows up pretty quickly in the 200 plus range. Out of the rough from 200 plus, he's 23rd. So long irons, let's go. The more of them, the better. Aldrich, I believe in his talent. I don't see that much wind this week. Not going to have to do that much chipping. Lots of green regulations at a golf course like this. Let's get it, Aldi, my boy. Very fair price tag. We're going with Aldrich Potgieter at 150 to 1 with the 6 places over there. So let's get it. Let's go, bro. I'm in it to win it with Aldrich in a big way. All right. As we're getting out of here, friends, any more requests, I will gladly do a deep dive or two as we get out of here for the last 15 minutes. If not, I'm kind of... first round leaders. What about... was this in relation to Eugenio Chikara or not? Either way, I'll use it as a tangent point for us over here. This is basically how we decided to go with Zach Blair last week. Is you just filter, you clear, you go AM, you select all, there it is. Then you go round 1 power rating. And what I actually like to do is when you've got the round 1 DraftKings price in here, it'll give you a value. Usually the DraftKings price and the odds are pretty close too. Then you just filter by the best value, because then you're going to be finding the guys that are like 80 to 1, 70 to 1, and beyond. This is like my new first round leader strategy, is to just pepper the board. These are all first round leaders over here with this color. And, our odds were, Ben Griffin was, I think, the one guy that we had a really big number on last at the John Deere. Or did we just go with these guys? So, yeah, whatever. Ben Coles, we had Ben Coles, who was right there, just couldn't come home. But like 80, 90, so when you're getting these each ways, they had like 18 to 1. They're providing you with 1.8 units. We're only betting 1 unit on all of these bets. So if you can get the each way to pay out 2 units, then you've got that 1 each way covering everything. But if it pays, for instance, like 14 to 1, like a Max Homer, who was also very close to cashing this each way as well, then you've got only 1.4 unit return. So you're only basically covering your each way side of things. But if you have 2 guys cash, you've got 9 of them to potentially get them across the line if you like deploy a mass produced first round leader card versus kind of going to 25 to 1, 30 to 1 ranges in that first round leader market. So using the power rating for round 1 showdown over here, the best power ratings for AMT times would be Rory, Wyndham, Tyrrell, Xander, Chris Gotterup, Robert MacIntyre, Patrick Cantlay. Those are likely names outside of Bobby Mack that are going to cost a lot of money in the first round leader market, in my opinion. So, this is the thing. It's all price dependent as well. If you're going to be just going for the first couple names, it would be Rory at 23, Xander at 35, Ludwig at 36. If I remember, was he even part of it? No, he wasn't. So, but then I'm starting to see names like, if you take a look at their prices, then you can see Alex Noren could be a fantastic first round leader guy. If you take a look at his gaining 0.8 strokes in round 1, he's also grading out quite nicely for the week. So Alex Noren would be someone that we could look at in the first round leader market at a price that makes sense. Noren. Yeah, he'll be 98 to 1, and you can get that top 5 at 1950. So basically 2 to 1 odds, 20 to 1 odds there on a first round leader top 5 for Noren. So we'll put that as a little white ticker here for FRL. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. But again, this Thursday weather needs to clear up if I'm going to adopt this AM strategy. You might have to target guys that tee off at like 1 o'clock that get, I don't know. So I think you can't really do first round leader bets on a Tuesday. It's very weather specific. The wave advantage was insane at the John Deere Classic. Nobody apart from Zach Johnson, who pretty much nuked all of my top 5 guys on the outskirts there. Ben Coles being one of them, I think. ZJ birdied 18 from out of nowhere. He went eagle birdie to get inside the top 5 and push everyone that was T5 to T6 in the PM wave. He was the only PM option that did that and just never even remotely finished close to the top of the leaderboard by the end of the week. So it is what it is. But monitoring this ownership, this weather for round 1, and we'll see where we go from there. I don't necessarily see us going anywhere. Like Alex Noren seems like someone. Nikolai Hojgaard seems like someone I can get behind, but he's actually been better over the weekends. He's only gaining like 0.6 over the week. I can see a Shane Lowry being a first round leader. He just gets worse between rounds 1, 2, 3, and 4. You can literally see it here. Round 1, 1.2 strokes. Round 2, 1 stroke flat. Round 3, 0.7. Round 4, 0.4. So, also, do we have first round leader stuff? I can't remember if we even have DraftKings Showdown. We do. Okay. Give me 2 seconds. I can fill that in, and then we can get some good value plays, and then we can filter on that button quickly. If you just hang tight with me for a couple seconds, friends, then we can actually really do the round 1 DK stuff. Oh yeah, I've also got an itchy throat. Alrighty. Hopefully that's done everything. I might have to just randomly delete a couple guys that are breaking the system. But no, we've got value ratings. Okay, fantastic. So now let's just get rid of the tea time here. I think this is just in general, we're deep diving a couple first round leader guys. So the best, you want the smallest number. I got to fix these guys' names in the showdown stuff as well. Apologies over there. But we're going to get them out the way anyway by going smallest to biggest. So Mac Masner would be an option that is going to be a round 1 showdown consideration. He gains the most strokes of his 4 rounds in round 1. I just think this tournament might be too big for him. I really liked him last week at the John Deere. If he was playing the ISCO, I would have really liked Mac Masner to win that thing this week. But maybe we lean into that, maybe we don't. I'd imagine he's clearly in the 100 to 1 range. 100 to 1. God, I'm good. All right, just kidding. What benefit does it give you if you know exactly the odds are? Nick Taylor in round 1. Makes too much sense. I'd imagine he's probably in the 80 to 1 range for us over here. Let's take a look at Nick Taylor. 115. I went the wrong way. See, God, I'm bad. So I think he's an absolute consideration, regardless of where you are. I think first round leader for him makes too much sense as well for Nick Taylor. Eric Cole, first round leader, is a no-brainer as well. I would imagine he is somewhere in the 60s. 88 to 1. Beautiful. That would be a no-brainer first round leader as well. Again, we filtered. You can see here, the value is in correlation to the price, and as a result of it, we're getting a lot of cheapies that really are fitting in that 88 to 1 range. So far, our shortest out first round leader is 88, and we haven't even shopped around a little bit. So, you can easily find some hundreds on the guys that are 80s, and then you're betting 0.1 unit to win 10 units, or 0.1 unit to win 10 units, exactly. So that is exactly how you want to be doing it. And then if they top 5 each way, boom, you're just covering your bases. You're just reloading your bankroll for that specific market for the next time. Not losing anything, not gaining anything. If you get 2, boom, off we go. And we want to spam that range. Wyndham Clark, probably going to be relatively affordable. In the 40 range, 47. We've done that with Ben Griffin, where we went with him at like 24 to 1 or 40 to 1, I think, as like a guy. We'll contemplate it, maybe. We'll see. Alex Smalley makes a lot of sense, but not necessarily doing it in round 1 as much as we would like, but does provide you with good value in general, per the model. Tyrrell Hatton has just been getting off to smelters of a starts lately. and he's 46 to 1. So, I mean, he's gaining 2.5 strokes in round 1 at Live and across the maps. Interesting to note there. And Patrick Reed is always enticing to me. Yeah. Gotterup typically gets off to slower starts. He does his best work in a Sunday. Yeah, I think we're kind of getting stuck here. I'm getting tired myself. All right. Friends, family, fans, thank you so much for a fantastic, fantastic show. Chat was cooking, having a good time. We did a little community bet there. So, Team Marco. I'm going to yell Marco. You guys yell Marco. If someone did that and their wife caught them, please let me know about it. That would be hilarious. It probably didn't happen, but maybe it did. We are repping the Hawkeye hoodie. I was going to rock the $100 bill shirt today. It is packed away. As you can tell, we are out of here. The next time you see me, maybe in my new house, in the new studio, or at least the new area where the new studio would be. We're going to tidy that up and get it going. So lots to get done in the next couple days. I'm going to be getting on Ragbri in 2 weeks' time, which is the Register's annual great bike ride across Iowa. It's a 7-day bike ride. It's 400 miles. I've done 250 total miles this year. So looking to potentially get as many miles as I can in the next couple days. But I'm also moving away from the bike trail as well. So going to have to go out of my way to make sure I get my fat ass on the bicycle. Otherwise it's going to hurt. You got to be fit for that stuff. I've got a pretty decent baseline, but the ass needs to get itself conditioned a bit more before I do that. So I'm kind of stressing about that, but I've got a million boxes to pack. I've got a million TVs to put in boxes and so Mini Maniac coming in September 13th. Life is coming at me fast right now. So living the good life. Had a great time at the John Deere Classic. I hope you guys tailed all the bets and things like that. Pretty much anywhere you went, you would have made money. From last week, it was awesome to have a good week at my home event. It was just sick. And I was thankful to meet a couple people out there that I bumped into, that watched the show, and spent a lot of time with Ian, the guest of last week's show as well. So we had a blast as well, playing Davenport Country Club. It was fine. I'm a cheapie. I wouldn't go spend money to play there. I played Spirit Valley, which was about as manicured and not nearly as scenic with the cliffs and things like that. But I didn't quite get the top 100 golf course and all. I can see it. I wouldn't pay that much to do that. So I enjoyed myself there. Also could not manage to find the club face with the driver. Ian can attest. Just hitting banana fades. I was hitting like a massive 50-yard slice the whole day. So on the 9th hole, which was our final hole, I aim all the way down the left-hand side to try hit this fade over these trees on the par 5 that has a river running down the right-hand side. And I pull it and hit a draw all the way over the trees over the second fairway, barely in bounds. And I had a perfect shot in, and then I duffed my shot into the bunker because the flag was right over the bunker. So tough scenes there, but had a blast. And then the sirens went off on hole 9 because we had another downpour of rain in the area. It was just insane how much rain we got over that period of time. So for scores to only get to 20 under par was quite shocking, in my opinion, given how soft the greens and things were at the Deere. But the pin locations were difficult, man. I watched so many guys have so many short putts that they couldn't even figure out which direction it was breaking. And then when you did know which way it was breaking cups, not balls. So they put the pin locations in some really tough spots. And you gotta make a lot of putts like Gotterup did in order to shoot low there, and he did. So congratulations to Chris. Did not see him hit a shot on Sunday. That's how far away from Ben Coles' group he was. He was in. He basically posted the number before we got to the drivable par 4 14th. So we didn't even know. We were on the other side of the golf course. Well, we knew, but we couldn't get there because it was too far away. So fun stuff. It was awesome chatting to you guys. Let's have a fantastic week at the Scottish. Remember, it goes early. And we'll catch you guys soon. Peace.